Welcome, everyone, to our Holiday Litigation Department lunch. This year, we thought we'd do something different, so with no further ado, let me introduce our first very special guest, appearing to you by video, the 43rd President of the United States, George W. Bush.
Thank you very much, John. I like the ring of that. President Bush. Did that Obama-Rama fellow quit early? Am I back in the White Office?
White House? No, actually, President is a title you carry for life.
I knew that. It's permanent, like a Sharpie marker or the Green Lantern tattoo on my ankle. It's been a while since I read the President's job manual, and a lot of it was in Latin, which I cannot read because I'm not Latin American.
Now, I understand that you yourself did not go to law school.
That is correct. I always say anybody can pass the bar, but not anybody can pass out in the bar and get taken home unconscious.
That's very true. As a former president, governor, and businessman, have you picked up a fair amount of legal knowledge?
I do, and I think that the entirety of the American legal justice system is encapsulated by the quote, "Possession is 9/10 of the law." And I should know, in college I was once stopped for possession, but they let me go. The Cambridge police said I was carrying high-grade imported oregano.
That's good to hear. We'd love to have you give some advice to our lawyers here, especially to Eunice, Rebecca, Justin, Mike, and Betsy.
Eunice, that is a beautiful name. By any chance is her last name Eichel?
Unicycle. Got it. Okay.
That was a little wordplay joke.
We got it. So, any good advice in general for these esteemed colleagues?
Sure. First of all good cases start with good discovery. That's why if I was a lawyer, I would watch the Discovery Channel. They specialize in discovery. That's all they do. You could come into court. Your Honor, do you realize that the flying squirrel is actually a rodent? Or that there are 3 atoms in your average molecule, but there were only 2 atoms in the Beastie Boys? With research like that, you will decimate the opposition.
That probably works better in Texas.
Second, I would say that in cases where it's appropriate, do not be afraid to use the appellate system.
Interesting advice. Why don't you elaborate on that for us?
Sure. Let's say, for example, that you have a case in criminal court involving a gun. You could take that same case into appellate court if it involved a pellet gun. They have a separate court just for pellets. That's amazing.
We're learning a lot of fascinating stuff here.
And lastly, if you've tried everything, but you know that you're going to get cooked, don't be afraid to have your client exercise their Fifth Commandment rights.
You mean Fifth Amendment?
Not sure. What's the amendment say?
It's against self-incrimination.
What's the commandment say?
Honor thy father and mother.
I'll take the amendment. I'm still sore at my daddy for making me go to my room that one time.
When was that?
After I was mean to Cheney, I gave him a noogie in the Oval Office.
Any special advice or comments for anyone else at the firm?
First of all, I'd like to give a shout out to Evan. I understand he was out on a date one night getting sloshed on alcoholic beverages and almost choked to death on a little plastic elephant. First off, I want to say that I partied pretty hard myself in my youth, and obviously it did not hold me back. Second of all, as a long-time member of the GOP, if you're going to choke to death on any toy animal, I prefer it be an elephant.
Any words of advice for young associates in dealing with partners?
No matter what they say, the key is to pretend you're interested. I understand you have a partner who tells long, boring stories about pipelines. I experience extreme boredom myself whenever people jibber-jabber their gobbledygook nonsense in my ear hole. And I have names for these people. Congressman, cabinet member, Jerome, anybody with a mouth. I have this little trick I do. I borrow an earpiece from the Secret Service, and instead of listening to what you're saying, I'm listening to the sound of a violent Amazonian waterfall.
Do you have any advice for our new associates about working with their secretaries?
Don't piss them off. And if you do, be afraid. Be very, very afraid. Just ask Neil. They'll do everything they can to ruin your life. They'll even drop your birthday cake. I once had a secretary everyone was afraid of. His name was Rumsfeld. But even he didn't drop my cake.
We've had a lot of characters in our office in the past, too.
Certainly. I understand you had a former associate, Melanie Natasha Henry. She threw herself a birthday party, made people pay a cover charge to get in, performed a song on stage, and then had a cake with a picture of herself in judge's robes, holding a microphone and singing. I think that's genius. Reminds me of my fundraisers. Only difference is we had a woman jump out of the cake.
Any advice for Betsy and Mike?
I do. It's important for partners to promptly respond to all emails. I just got one myself from a nice Nigerian feller. He offered to send me $10 million if I provided him with my bank account info. I thought it might be a scam, but Jay-Z promised me that he's the real deal.
Oh, so you know Jay-Z?
Jay-Z? Of course I do. Laura and I play tennis with him in Bayonce every month on the ranch. He's got a killer backhand and not bad at Scrabble.
I meant John Zames.
Oh, Zames. That guy always gets hurt from walking or moving or existing. If this fellow was a horse on my ranch, he'd already have been turned into glue.
Yeah, he's had some bad luck.
Speaking of bad luck, there was nothing quite like getting cornered by Jerome. Although I did learn a lot about Margaret Thatcher and the French Revolution. I heard about your little vortex code. Very clever. I had a code for situations too. Like when one of those cabinet members would start talking to me about people or places or things. But instead of a word, my signal was to start snoring and let some drool fall out of my mouth.
Thanks for the tip.
And I hear you've got a guy there named Mike Resch. He works all hours of the night. Resch is a living example of my best advice. And that is, whether you are a lawyer or an attorney, when you work, give 125%. Some people would say that is mathematically impossible. However, when I ran for president, some of my best contributions were 125% of the legal maximum. Do not listen to mathematicians.
Speaking of numbers, do you have any advice about administrative policies?
I understand that the thing you all love most about the firm is writing out your billable time within 3 days. Billing is important. It's so important there's a city in Montana named after it. Billings, Montana. I've skied there. Here are a few tricks I thought up to improve your billing. Have a category called court appearances. Use that whenever you play tennis or basketball. They call it hoops. Have a category called legal research. Use that when you watch Law and Order, the regular one or SUV. And have a category called argument practice. Use that whenever you're talking to your spouse. I hope Laura doesn't hear this.
She won't. Do you have any health tips?
Some of your associates are developing caffeine addictions. They go to Starbucks multiple times a day. I can relate. When I was in business school, I was addicted to caffeine myself. It was white caffeine in powder form.
Sounds fancy. Is there anyone really special in the firm you'd like to mention?
I want to thank my friend and your partner, Bob Davis, for letting me take time away from my golf game to talk to you people. When I say that Bob is a friend, I mean that he contributed a lot to my campaign. I also want to thank my friend Dale. He's the only guy around here more conservative than I am. I gotta go.
Thank you, President Bush. And now I'd like to introduce another very special guest, a movie star businessman and former governor of the state of California, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Thank you, John. It's a pleasure. First of all, I understand you are athletic and like to pump iron like me, but you get hurt like a baby. I got hurt once exercising too. I tried to bench press Chris Christie.
Ouch. You know, tomorrow is Thursday and we need to get back to the office soon to make sure the refrigerator is cleaned out.
Yeah, in the State House in Sacramento, I had the same strict rule. Since I was a hands-on governor, I personally went around and ate all the food. Once I downed a bottle of sriracha sauce and burped fire for 2 days.
What do you think about workplace attire?
I know you have an associate who bikes to work, and he shows up in the crazy bike outfit, with the shorts and the tight shirts and the helmet. As governor, I would also ride my bike and take it in the elevator, but it wasn't a bicycle, it was my Harley.
How do you feel about workplace maternity policies?
I know your office recently had a spat of new babies. 4 women had babies. within the last 18 months. I'm told they don't look like me. Well, when I was governor, I provided health and welfare payments for 8,257 babies born in California. Okay, it wasn't really welfare, it was child support.
So you got around. That's the idea there. What do you think is the place of athletics among coworkers?
John, I know you've recruited 2 other partners, Dale and Mike, to do these crazy sports events with you, and you all came back very injured 2 years ago. But it's worth it. Sports with colleagues is a good thing. When I was governor, I played football with Assembly Speaker Fabian Nunez. I would play quarterback and he would be the football.
On a different note, we have had a few health issues around here.
I know, Jay-Z has a staph infection, and you, John, you also had a staph infection. I had that issue in my office once when I was governor, and the best way to get rid of a staph infection is just to fire your whole staff.
Are you familiar with our partners Neil and Jermaine?
Yeah, apparently people think they both talk really loud. They don't sound loud to me. What are you talking about?
Is there any special person here in the firm that you'd like to mention?
I was invited here by Bob Hertzberg, but he didn't invite me because he likes me. He still thinks I'm going to sign one of his bills. Haha, fat chance. I've got to leave. I'm shooting Expendables 5.
But there hasn't been an Expendables 4 yet.
I know, but Americans suck at math. They won't even notice. I can tell you and everyone the truth when I say, happy holidays, I won't be back.